Hey y'all, OlivesCrossing here, and I'm so excited to be back with another completed island tour of mine. This island is Castle Core, Renaissance Core, Medieval Core, and I can't wait to show you guys. Let's dive into this tour. I have Joey, Victoria, Becky, Knox, Sterling, Elvis, Kiki, Rodeo, Vic, and Pietro, and every single villager does have a job on the island, and we'll see when we tour what they do. Okay, let's begin this tour. So I made my resident service actually like a sunken in castle. You can see from here, I have like castle walls all built around it, and then I only have one entrance, one staircase that goes and leads you up this way. And then in the dream address, I left an outfit and a vaulting pole and a ladder just in case you get stuck. So let's put on our outfits, dressed as a knight, so we fit right in. For resident services, I wanted it to convey it as a sunken in castle and also put a moat all around it. So you can see I used custom design water paths and added actual real waterfalls to give it that effect. And I was still able to decorate the waters by putting items down. And then I have all of these layers of castle walls and storefronts. And then it wraps all the way around. You see the moat still continues. And then back here is kind of like the secret entrance into the main castle. There's only one way to get into the castle, and it's this way. As you can see, like the moat or the lake still kind of continues. There's some skeletons, there's a black duck down there, some rocks, some snapping turtles. It's kind of dangerous to get into the main castle. My favorite way to enter the castle is doing it from this perspective by hitting the minus button on your Joy-Cons. I think it's such a cool perspective, and we can see all of the plate armormen protecting the castle. And then it leads us up to this archway where we have this really fancy statue overlooking the royal garden. So since this area is for the king and the queen, it's a little bit more fancier, upscale than the rest of the island. We have some statues and some vases. All the plate armors are gold, and I do have a little area back over here. This area in the royal castle is the royal cemetery. So if you look over here, we have some gravestones, and then we have two pillows with two crowns on them representing the late king and queen. And then if you look up from this angle, I made it look like it was like a church or a temple. And if we make our way back over here and head over to the left side, I made this area into the throne room. I was very inspired by Game of Thrones, and I have the little gyroid as the townspeople coming to listen to the king talk. For today, I can be the king. All hail Olive. Okay, enough of that. There's two double staircase, and it leads us to where the king and queen live, which is Becky and Elvis. All the villagers' houses are decorated on this island, and let's go check out Becky, the queen's house. As you can see, Becky's house is very fancy with golds and sparkles. There's a little thing of tea and crumpets. She got her gold vase. She's very fancy. She is the queen. She even has a guard standing right in front of her doorway. And then this way we have Elvis's house, who's our king. We have now entered King Elvis's house. I decorated his house with all the gold items in the game, including the gold armorman kind of guarding his door. He's standing in front of his throne, ready to rule the island. This up area also includes some secret entrances into the rock garden and some random graveyards, some skull bones. It's very pretty during the sunset. Okay, we're gonna head out of the royal castle and tour the rest of the island. We're back at resident services. It leads us straight to the airport, and we're gonna head this way to one of my favorite spots on my island, which is the jousting arena. When I tell you this took me forever, this took me forever. I was very inspired once again from Game of Thrones. As you can see, I have very many layers. There's 2 knights, they're battling, 1 versus 1. We have some on the sidelines. We have the king and queen's chairs. We have the crowd members of all the gyroids and all of the castles. I had so much fun playing with the gyroids in this area. I feel like it really brings it to life. As you can see, they're kind of like dancing around. I also have this red rose and this white rose right in front of the audience, and this represents the knights that are fighting. As you can see, the gold knight has a red rose and he has thrown it out to the crowd because the silver knight has lost. This area also includes the horse villager Victoria. She's in charge of all the horses that are used during the jousting, and let's go visit her house. Check it out. I wanted Victoria's house to represent a horse stable where all the horses from the jousting arena live, sleep, and eat, and Victoria takes care of them. So you can see we have the hay beds and the food and the carrots, and then we have this gorgeous opening of the outside. Personally, the hardest thing for me to decorate in the game is the beaches, and I had a really fun time decorating Vic's area. I represented Vic as the Viking on the island. So as you can see, he's got a bunch of axes, there's boats and barrels. Okay, we are heading out of the jousting arena, and we are going to take a little walk through the town. As you can see, I used a lot of tiki torches on this island. I wanted to convey that medieval look, and I think it looks really nice during the sunset. And then over here we have the old market. I spent a long time doing this area as well. As you can see, there's a lot of layers. I have a lot of castle walls and faces, little gyroids dancing around. We have some arches, and we also have some things that are being sold in the streets, some bread, and some fruit and some vegetables. And then it leads us to Sterling's house, which is our blacksmith. Here is a look inside of Sterling, our blacksmith's house. As you can see, the blacksmithing continues inside the home, and then we also have a little spot for him to sleep. Outside of Sterling's house includes a lot of blacksmithing. As you can see, we're making axes, we're making swords, we have people put to work. And then over here on the left-hand side, we have a little shop where you can buy some silver plate armor or some gold fancy plate armor. And then up this way, I have my very own medieval farm, kind of bringing it back to my old farm core island. But this time, it is ran by Joey. Let's go see what he's up to inside. There he is. This is Joey's house. I knew Joey didn't really fit the theme for medieval, but he's my all-time favorite villager. So I kind of gave him this like homey type of feeling, what it would look like if someone owned a farm. He's cooking. I have a little baby, his little baby brother hanging out on the table, his other little baby brother hanging out next to his bed. I try to make it look very cozy and homey. We have the cobwebs. Okay, we've kind of toured the whole right side, so let's head over to the left side of the island. Welcome to Pietro's play. I guess Vic is here too. Over here, I have a play dedicated to Pietro, our jester. He's actually up there performing right now. What great timing. As you can see, here's a seat for the king and queen. They are guarded by some plate armormen. And we have Pietro. Come on, Pietro, show us what you got. Nothing? Okay. Let's climb up this way, and then you are now have access to Pietro's play. As you can see that there's roses for an encore. They love his performance. And let's go take a peep inside what his house looks like. We are now backstage in Pietro's house, where you can see where his vanity is, where he gets dressed up for the play, and mirrors, all of the hats and helmets and dresses, swords, and then over here is a little sewing spot where he makes all of the costumes himself. And then over this way I have some archery lessons. You know, Victoria's over here, she's practicing. As you can see, I'm gonna have some like custom design arrows on the ground. Looks like someone didn't make it over here. We got some skull and bone, so make sure you're being careful, Victoria. You're in the line of sight. And then we head back over this way, and it leads us to my campsite. So I represented my campsite as being like a little traveler spot where people are traveling from in and out. As you can see, they all have their swords outside of their tent. Here's the actual campsite itself. This traveler actually has some bread and they're selling it. And then over here we have a little cozy campfire spot. Looks like we've had some travelers drinking a little bit of bottles, playing some music, and enjoying their time next to the beach. I also made a very subtle little wedding spot over here. I was very inspired from medieval movies where a lot of people get married on the beach. And then the campsite continues down this way. And then I just have like subtle beaches that are decorated with some statues and some piles of leaves. The campsite also includes a saloon. So I turned my own personal house into a saloon, so let's go check it out. I had a lot of fun decorating this area because the gyroids are sitting at the bar and they look like they've maybe drank a little bit too many bottles. They're having fun. And let's go check out the downstairs. This area down here is kind of where all the meat is stored. We even have our little gyroid supervisor taking care of all of the barrels down here. I also love the animation of the creaking that's happening. And then the upstairs, I made it into a type of bed and breakfast spot. So as you can see, there are 3 sets of beds. Kind of the dingy wallpaper, what you would expect in a medieval house. This path leads you into kind of a spooky corner made for Kiki. As you can see, there's skull bones, tarantulas, mushrooms. It looks like we have some witchy things happening over here. Some potions. Gyroid is casting a spell. And then let's head into Kiki's house. I wanted Kiki's house to kind of look like it was inside of a witchy cave. So I used the sounds of the forest. We have the cave and the arches and all the mossy items. Very spooky and witchy in here. We are now gonna head to kind of the last bit of the island. You head this way behind the saloon and it takes you into an area that is a guillotine. Yes, a guillotine. I don't know if you've ever seen a guillotine on any other island, but here we have it. And look who's inside. It's our least favorite villager, Colton. I had so much fun building this guillotine. I know that sounds really strange and funny, but I thought it was really fun to represent all of the gyroids kind of watching in the town square as Colton gets beheaded. And then who's in charge is Rodeo. He is our person that executes, you know, the bad people on the island. And let's go see what his house looks like inside. It's a little terrifying in here. What you would expect is somebody who would be in charge of executing people. I kind of portrayed this as a prison as you wait to be executed. Some people have already died in here. There's some cobwebs. This is Rodeo's desk right in front of us. Yeah, you don't want to be here. You don't want to have anything to do with this man. Look at those red eyes. I think it's time to leave. As we head out of the town square where the guillotine is located, you're brought into a plaza area where I have my Nook's Cranny and my Able Sisters. I wanted to, you know, include my Able Sisters and my Nook's Cranny and make it medieval, so I put castle walls in front of it to kind of cover up the buildings. And then we have this like really fancy fountain. We have wagons and horses and fruits and vegetables. And then I kind of tucked my museum back here with some guards hanging out. And for the last bit of the island, we're gonna head over to Nox's yard. So Nox is the main trainer for all of the Royal Knights, and this is the training yard. As you can see here, they are doing some training on some little dummy mannequins. Looks like there might have been a little, you know, Little hardcore training over here, some blood, some oopsies. There is a secret way to get to the royal castle from over in this direction. So if you get lost, you're able to go through this little entrance right here. And let's head into Nox's house. I wanted Nox's house to represent where the trainees hang out and sleep while Nox trains them. So we have their hay beds over here. They're kind of hanging out. They got their swords and they're eating some food, eating some soup, hanging out, having a good time after a long day of night training. That is it, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to my island tour of Fairflower. I had so much fun with this island. It took me about 6 months and I did it all on stream. So make sure if you're not following my Twitch account to do it right now. My link is in my bio. I'm currently working on a kid core island, so very drastic change of themes. I'm so excited to have this journey with you guys, and I will see you next time.